In tonight's headlines, Maskall gets a new water system, justices of peace are sworn in the Diaspora, and Belize works towards lower fuel economy. These stories and more in this week's edition of Belize Now. Thanks for joining us on this Friday, February 16, 2018. I am Erin Guzman. The village of Maskall in the Belize district officially inaugurated its rudimentary water system on February 14th. It marked an important day for the residents of the small community, and our Belize Now team was there to find out why the water project means so much to them. Here's that story.
1985. That's the year that Maskall received its first water system. It's been 33 years now, and the villagers have outgrown that water system. The residents struggled to do the basic things that most people might take for granted, like having access to fresh, clean water for cleaning, cooking, bathing, and drinking. The residents said that many of their household equipment have been damaged by the brackish water that the previous system provided. Now, with their new rudimentary water system, the village residents have a lot less to worry about, having easier access to a healthy and safe water supply.
We are very happy to have witnessed the success of this big project. Really and truly, it calls for everyone to unite and celebrate such achievement that was carried through by all who were involved. Despite the many challenges that we faced, success was on our side, and Maskall can celebrate this new system that brings life to our community.
The gathering at the ceremony was reminded of just how important the precious resource of water is with this very interesting fact.
The world is approximately 70% water. Yes, we say that's a lot of water. However, 97% of the Earth's water is salt water. So, it's only 3% of the Earth's water is fresh water. Of that 3%, less than 1% is accessible to us. Less than 0.3%.
Honorable Edmund Castro, Minister of Transport and NEMA, is the area representative for Belize Rural North, the area in which Maskall Village is located. But more than that, Maskall is home to the minister. He explained how the new system is different from what they had before.
We had some community pumps, so we have to pump water from, and in the dry season the pump go dry, so we have to rely on the pond behind the village or in whatever area that we could and fetch water. It's a new model that we had put in place, where we encompass all the villages with the exception of Boston and Bomba, who will be coming on stream later on, hopefully this year. We already received commitment for Boston and also for Bomba. But so far we have Lucky Strike, Rockstone Pond, Santana, Cursilito, St. Anne's and Maskall on one system. So it's one water board that deal with all the villages along the Old Northern Highway, with the exception of those two. So now with this new system, I think and I hope that it will last another 33 years. That way, by that time I will be senior enough and a young person will be able to carry on beyond the other 33 to 35 years.
Back in 1985, the village was half the size it is now, so the need for the development in the water system was dire. The beneficiaries couldn't be happier for having this extremely important need being met.
It means a lot for the 331 residents here at Maskall. Before the water system was implemented, people were basically most of the time using their well or had to rely on water just being dripping basically. So this is a big milestone for Maskall. Everybody's like, we love it, we can't get enough. We're so thankful for the water being on 24/7.
It is very good because I know from first we used to have one hand pump into the house where we used to get water from. Then after that, in 1985, we dig to get water. Water still not too healthy. Now, thank God we get better water.
Well, it means a lot from it because, as you know, water is life. And what happened, we have always been yearning to get water that could be 24 hours all around, because you know you have to, like as I said, water is life. And so therefore we are very grateful. They have done an awesome job, I mean, giving us this water supply in Maskall Village.
And while the truth of the statement, water is life, is being celebrated by the residents, for Melanie Castro's family, it's more than just a water system. It's an emotional reminder of the life of her grandfather, who spent much of his lifetime waiting for the day to come when potable water supply would be easily accessible in Maskall Village. Although her grandfather has passed away, he lived to see and enjoy, even for a short time, the newly installed water system, which conveniently is located directly across from where he lived.
As he's a historian of the village, he's a patriot of the village, and he have always been looking forward for this day to come. Our family is kind of emotional because what happened, he just passed like 2 days ago, and he used to always watch it from the beginning, from it was like from the ground building right up. And so therefore we must say that it's a blessing, and on behalf of the Garnett family, most of all, we are very thankful. And I must say again, kudos to the government of Belize and the Honorable Edmund Castro.
For Belize Now, I'm Miriam Longsworth.
The water project was funded through a loan from the Caribbean Development Bank, with counterpart funding from the government of Belize, costing just over $999,000. The project was implemented by the Social Investment Fund. Last month, we saw swearing in of 12 men and women as justices of peace, but this time in Washington, D.C. Our Belize Now team spoke to the Attorney General about the event.
Undoubtedly, there is a high demand for justices of the peace in Belize, and the same is true for Belizeans living abroad. Except for them, it may require greater hassle and distance, and sometimes even trips to Belize to find one. Now, for Belizeans living in the tri-state area, that is, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and the D.C. area, such services can now be easily accessed.
We did not have enough Belizeans living in that area who were JPs. So they asked me to come up there and swear in some people who they were proposing to be JPs. Naturally, we had to make sure that they were qualified people, established people, clean criminal records. And once we established that, then we went up there and we swore them in on the 20th of January because we really, really need the help.
The newly appointed JPs will have the same authority as those living in Belize.
Being physically in the States, primarily it will be for documentation. Of course, the most popular one being passport applications. So if you are filling out an application for anything that you need from Belize, but you're in the States, then they are authorized as justices of the peace for Belize to sign that document as a witness, saying that indeed you were the one that completed that document. They, of course, will also continue to receive some minor training when it comes to immigration matters, land matters, whatever, so that they can tell people, listen, instead of having this document go back and forth, you need to fill out this, you need to fill out that.
Not only do they possess the same responsibilities, but they are expected to exercise the same code of conduct in executing their duties.
Each person who I swore in, I gave them a copy of the Justice of the Peace Act. So it is their job and duty to read up the act to see what authority they have when they are physically in Belize. Because when they are physically in Belize, their authority then kicks in big time. And they're equivalent to inspectors of police, they're equivalent to a magistrate in the court. So they have serious powers within the judiciary in terms of their authority as JPs. And it was very important for them to read that and see that, to understand the seriousness of the swearing in and the seriousness of the task they've agreed to undertake.
The Attorney General says he fully expects that JPs will also be sworn in the other cities with large Belizean populations.
The Los Angeles Belizean community, they were the pioneers in it. They had the vision to see that there was a need for justices of the peace, for LA and senior justices of the peace in Los Angeles. And once LA set the trend, then New York and DC followed. And we fully expect that other major cities which Belizeans reside, we're already getting word from Houston, from Chicago, and of course Florida will come up, I'm sure.
For Belize Now, I am Janelle Mencias.
We'll have more stories after the break. Stay with us.
The San Ignacio-Santa Elena bypass project is now complete. The transformation began in 2012, and now residents of the twin towns and visitors alike are enjoying the end result. Works include the full pavement of Lamalus Boulevard, along with 2 miles of sidewalks and drainage, LED lighting, and a roundabout at the entrance of Santa Elena. The twin towns now boast the longest and widest bridge in Belize, immune to flooding from the occasional rise in water levels of the Maskall River. A bypass road was also built linking the new bridge to Joseph Andrews Drive, which was rehabilitated, as well as 1 mile of pavement, a median, and 2 miles of sidewalks and drainage. This was all done to the tune of $34.8 million. But that's not all. The project was extended due to savings from the successful execution and implementation of the initial scope of works. Now over 2 miles of additional roadworks will commence, including George Price Avenue, Liberty Avenue, and the George Price Highway between Three Flags and Hawksworth Bridge. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
Punta Gorda Town now has a modern multi-purpose sporting facility thanks to the government of Belize. The brand new complex is double the size of the prior venue, and some of the features include a FIBA certified wooden court with padding underneath, seating capacity for 1,000, changing rooms, locker rooms, and offices. This $3.4 million investment in the town of Punta Gorda is being heralded by the residents of PG.
I feel very excited because this is first time a port like this is built in PG.
This is a big achievement for the town because we have a lot of the youths there where they come out and want to play ball the same way. And this just put up on another level.
A lot of youths can't even wait to play on the new court because it's so official and it's something new to PG, in a whole.
I have to thank the government of Belize because then they look out for PG,
The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
The transportation sector accounts for 22% of carbon dioxide emissions, and it is expected that the global increase of the vehicle fleet in the coming decades, especially in developing economies, will have a monumental impact on health, the environment, and the climate. The International Energy Agency estimated that fuel consumption and carbon dioxide emissions from cars will double between the years 2000 and 2050. As a result, the cleaner and more efficient fuels and vehicles in Belize project was developed within the framework of 2 global programs, the Partnership for Fuels and Clean Vehicles and the Global Fuel Economy Initiative, GFEI. On Monday, February 12th, the Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities hosted a presentation on the baseline results of carbon dioxide emissions and fuel efficiency for vehicles registered in Belize in the year 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016 for stakeholders. At the presentation, we spoke with consultant for environmental projects at Fundación Centro de Gestión Tecnológica y Informática Industrial, Natalia Bonilla Gámez, who gave us an overview of the programs.
And the idea is that all the countries of the world like they achieve a goal in 2030 of having 4.2 liters of gasoline equivalent per 100 kilometers in terms of the light duty vehicles they import, and then in 2050 achieve this goal, but for all the vehicle fleet that are in the countries. So the idea is to have achieve a more efficient vehicles, and also they have lower emissions in terms of transport sector, and then to move towards also an electric mobility transport.
Games told us what the next step is for Belize.
With the country, we can see which policies can be implemented in terms of fuel economy, so that it will be like in terms of CO2-based vehicle registration tax or circulation tax based on CO2, or fuel taxations, so that the country can work on that, and also in other things like eco-labeling the vehicles in terms of fuel economy.
Through its 100 by 50 for 50 campaign, the initiative is working towards a commitment of 100 countries to improve the fuel economy of all vehicles by an average of 50% by 2050. Since its launch, GFEI has supported 27 developing countries, which are now at varying stages of developing fuel economy policies. Among the countries is Belize's neighbor, Costa Rica. GAMA shared their progress thus far.
We have already worked in making a law that restricts the importation of used vehicles. So, like in Costa Rica, we didn't have any restriction in the importation of second-hand vehicles. Now we have a restriction, and we are working also in the communication strategy of educating people in fuel economy. And now we're working in eco-labeling, so that the country, anyone who wants to buy a vehicle can see the grams of CO2 per kilometers and the efficiency of the vehicle, and can buy a vehicle taking into account that information.
While Belize is a low emitter, such a project is still very important in helping Belize achieve its climate change commitments.
Our transport sector constitute a large amount of our energy consumption, approximately around almost 48% of our energy consumption. So what happened is, as we are taking on this initiative, it would help us to decrease our CO2 emissions, improving the economy, and also helping us to fit for our commitments for the climate change activities, or as you say, mitigation efforts that we have in place. What is happening is that we're developing a baseline study that will set a standard, or what is in place at the moment. And once we know what is the fuel economy for light duty vehicles, then we can begin having policy discussions. These discussions are geared as to see what's the way forward. How do we move from what our baseline is and improving our fuel economy?
The project is being implemented by the Ministry of Public Service, Energy, and Public Utilities in cooperation with United Nations Environment Program and with the assistance of technical partners GFEI, CEGESTI, and Centro Mario Molina, Chile. The Ministry of Health was recently alerted to a positive case of measles in Guatemala imported from Germany. With that information, the ministry is taking proactive measures in ensuring that Belizeans are safe from a breakout of measles in the country. Maternal and Child Health Technical Advisor for the Ministry of Health, Dr. Natalia Beer, spoke to our Belize Now team about the most important step in preventing any incident of the virus in Belize.
The protection number one is to have the vaccines up to date. In this case is the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, which is given routinely at 12 months and 18 months of age. And we believe that an informed population will be more protected than an uninformed population. So the risk is there because of the tourism season that we are in currently. The cases that have been documented in the Americas are all linked with importation. The case in Guatemala was an importation, and the case in Antigua, now that is confirmed, was an importation also from Germany and the UK.
The World Health Organization recommends that every eligible child receive 2 doses of measles-containing vaccine. It also encourages adults who are not fully immunized or who are not sure of their immunity status to get vaccinated. Pediatrician Dr. Cecilia Eck told us more.
Well, the at-risk group would be any baby less than 5. Those are the ones who get the most complications from it. The people who are most at risk of getting or transmitting the disease, though, and hence the invitation of the media, is to make sure that all the population are vaccinated, especially the upfront personnel such as the immigration officers, the police officers, healthcare workers, of course. And so the Ministry of Health is starting this or revamping the program to vaccinate these at-risk populations.
Measles is a highly infectious viral disease, but it is also a vaccine-preventable disease that has not been reported in Belize since 1991. The number of cases of measles in the region of the Americas has increased from 92 in 2016 to 271 in 2017, and the Caribbean is reporting highly suspicious cases imported from the United Kingdom. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
Residents of Dangriga now have their very own, brand new, modernized, multi-purpose complex, compliments of the government of Belize. This $3.5 million investment in the cultural capital will host sporting events, cultural events, and shows, and can double as a hurricane shelter. Features include seating for 1,000, a fully FIBA-certified wooden court, locker rooms with full bathrooms, a stage and changing rooms backstage, concession stands, office space, and ample parking. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
The Philip Goldson Highway between Belize City and the Philip Goldson International Airport is getting a major facelift to the tune of $31.5 million. Section B of the highway upgrading project between Hallover Bridge and the Buttonwood Bay Boulevard roundabout is underway at an investment of $21 million. Works consist of the full rehabilitation of the road to paved standard, which includes the widening of the road to 4 lanes, lined sidewalks and drains, wide shoulders, median, and parking plus a bus lane at designated sections of the road. LED road lighting will be installed along with road safety features such as signs, reflectors, and road markings. The project will also facilitate in the improvement of underground infrastructure for the public utility companies. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
The government of Belize, through the Ministry of Home Affairs, received a $1 million Belize donation from the Republic of China, Taiwan, to support ongoing efforts aimed at strengthening the Belize Police Department as part of the security cooperation that exists between the two countries. The contribution will be used for the purchase of standard police equipment and law enforcement technologies, including alcohol measuring instruments, bulletproof vests, and motorcycles for the Belize Police Department. The check was handed over in a small ceremony at the Lang Building in Belize City on Thursday, February 15th. And that's it for this edition of Belize Now. If you want to provide feedback or send in your comments, please feel free to email us at info@pressoffice.gov.bz or visit our Facebook page and let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great week. Until next time.